So today I have two tank commanders with me, one from the United States and one from North Korea. Today we're going to be talking about the Battle of 73 Easting.
In the early days of the Persian Gulf War, a Captain H.R. McMaster found his unit of 9 M1 Abrams tanks, 13 M3A2 Bradleys, and 120 troops, squaring off against dozens of Soviet-era tanks, armored vehicles, and hundreds of Iraqi infantry forces. Over the span of just 23 minutes, McMaster's Eagle Troop laid waste to the dated T-72 and T-62 tanks Iraq was using. Captain H.R. McMaster's Eagle Troop, comprised of 9 M1A1 Abrams main battle tanks, 13 M3A2 Bradley fighting vehicles, and around 120 soldiers, were ordered to advance eastward toward embedded Iraqi positions, and that led directly into an Iraqi military training complex occupied by a brigade of Iraq's Tawakolna Division and elements of the 10th Armored Division, both among the nation's most well-trained and well-equipped armored units. The Iraqi troops had been given orders to halt the American advance, and they dug in for a fight.
I mean, I had the pleasure of meeting H.R. McMaster when I was in the military. He was the commanding general at the base where I was at the installation where I was at. And I mean, we didn't talk about this, but I mean, he was great. And it was just sort of like, it sort of just brought it to life a little bit. That like, oh man, like this is the guy. Like this is the guy for like 73 Easting. Like, I can't believe it. It's sort of like starstruck a little bit.
But the advanced American Abrams and Bradleys were all equipped with modern global positioning systems to allow them to navigate freely. The unaware Iraqi commander had oriented all his defenses toward the road, but Eagle Troop was approaching from a few kilometers north of it, granting them at least some degree of surprise. But despite this mistake, McMaster spoke highly of Major Muhammad's defensive strategy. Muhammad had fortified the village with ZSU-23 Shilka radar-guided anti-aircraft weapon systems, orienting their 4 massive 23mm autocannons parallel to the horizon, intent on using them to tear through land-based armor instead of jets. He then placed dozens of tanks and BMPs throughout the defensive position, with hundreds of infantry troops scattered between them in bunkers and hastily dug trenches. The plan was to make the village itself a hornet's nest of defensive power, forcing the advancing American armor to scatter to the north or south of the village, where he'd placed mines to stop their advance. He then positioned another 18 T-72 main battle tanks in a circle about 3 kilometers further to the east to quickly respond if the Americans managed to break through his defensive lines. Still unaware of all this, Eagle Troop pressed slowly into the raging sandstorm.
So you trained on U.S. tanks. What do you think is the most important part of the training that makes them ready and more, I guess, capable going into these kinds of fights?
Technically? Or
specifically like the individuals, right? We've talked about the capabilities of the tanks, but more on the individual, personnel level.
So, I mean, everybody's job is to identify, right? And so in another video, they talked about, the hatches are open. It's because not just me, like I have a little screen or whatever that I can be like scanning around with my like sort of like a camera. But the loader, I mean, he's got his seat and he's got his little door with all the rounds and everything, and he's not doing anything. It's like, no, you're not doing anything. You're going to open your hatch and you're going to stick your head up out there and you're going to be looking around to see if you see any enemies. And the driver's doing the same thing. He's just got like a little port, but he's doing the same thing. Gunner obviously is doing the same thing as well. Individually, everybody needs to know what the enemy composition is, what these enemy vehicles look like. Everybody has to be able to identify. And so to a certain degree, everybody needs to like know what's going on. Everybody needs to know like basic tactics about like what needs to be done. Everybody's got their like very specific job and like what sector they're scanning or what they're looking for. But on the individual level, it's really knowledge-based. Who is our enemy? What does the enemy vehicle look like? We don't want to be shooting our own guys. So what does the enemy vehicle look like? Be able to identify that. And then after that, just being like a subject matter expert on whatever your job is. And so if you're the driver, be the best driver. If you're a gunner, make sure you're able to like shoot and hit the target, right? If you're loading, we talked about being able to load really quickly. Like the faster you get that round in there, the faster we're able to send it on the way and take out the enemy. And so, yeah, I think on the individual level, it's just that personal responsibility to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Just to know everything.
Yeah. Makes sense.
With its 13 Bradleys leading the way, peering through their infrared optics as they went, and his 9 Abrams following closely behind. Before the Iraqi armor even had an opportunity to react, one of Eagle Troop's Bradleys halted position and opened fire with a BGM-71 tow missile, hitting the southernmost tank. And within literally seconds, that same Bradley fired a second tow missile, hitting the second tank, just before ripping into the third with its 25mm M242 Bushmaster
the Bradleys
chain gun.
have
But while
tow
Eagle
missiles
Troop's
built, like,
attention was
as one of
oriented
the- Yeah,
toward
they have
the
them mounted
Iraqi
on the-
armor in the
on the
northeast,
vehicle.
Iraqi
That's pretty
soldiers
scary.
pulled up in a
그게
small group of
얼마나 위력이
secluded
강하면
buildings to the
그
southeast
포탑이
opened
날아가네.
fire.
위에
McMaster
이렇게.
quickly assessed that the structures didn't look as though
그게
they had
몇 톤
any
되는데,
civilians
이게.
sheltering among the attackers. He gave the order for all 9 Abrams to open up on the structures with their massive
볼만하다.
120mm
아주
smoothbore
진짜
guns,
볼만하네.
ending the small arms fire just as quickly as it started. Peering through his infrared optics, the Bradley commander spotted a single T-72 tank just about 800 meters ahead. He gave the order to stop as he and another Bradley both returned fire with tow missiles. In the distance, they watched as the
don't have a shot.
T-72's turret popped off the tank like a jack-in-the-box.
북한이랑 미국이 전차 싸움이 뭐 전쟁 벌어졌을 때 그냥 상대가 안 될 것 같은 느낌.
그저 뭐 항공 비행기 저 교전이 그 결과가 나아지는 거나 뭐 저 육상에서나 거의 비슷할 것 같아. 예, 저는 그렇게 봐요. 비행기 뭐 F-35, F-22하고 미국이들하고 조우하거나 예, 그 결과가 이제는 뭐 뻔하잖아요. 우리가 이제는 뭐 근데 전차도 거의 비슷할 것 같아요. 예, 내가 전차병이지만 그 성능과 이제 외관적으로 봤을 때 그 성능을 보면은 그때 당시 그걸 몰랐을 뿐이지. 지금 알고 보면은 이거 괜히구나. 괜히 내가 군복무했지 저거 보면.
Recognizing that they'd kicked the hornet's nest, McMaster called out over the radio for Eagle Troop to shift positions. Eagle Troop, battle stations. Tanks lead. Go to tanks lead. He called out over the radio. The 13 Bradleys
tank should be in the
slowed, and
front?
McMaster's 9 Abrams pressed
It
ahead
depends.
in a wedge formation, as orders came in over the radio for Eagle Troop to continue to move further forward, all the way to 70 Easting. 5 tanks positioned next to one another, with 3 more in reserve a bit north of them. The laser rangefinder in McMaster's Abrams gave him a read on their distance, 1,420 yards. McMaster quickly gave the order to fire a sabot, and within just 3 seconds, McMaster's Abrams fired a second sabot round, wiping another T-72 off the scorecard. The remaining 6 Iraqi tanks all opened fire at once, raining 125mm rounds down on Eagle Troop as the 9 Abrams reached the crest of a small hill.
You mentioned while we were watching this that that's the exact tank as you were operating. Were the tanks and the strategy and some of the other things you saw relatable?
글쎄 이제 이거 영상 보니까 물론 뭐 그 세계적인 판도에서 다 이거 연구를 하겠죠. 근데 탱크전이 전 세계적으로 좀 있은 거는 아마 걸프전하고 이번에 우크라이나에선 여기서 미군이나 러시아 전차가 직접 개항해 본 거는 걸프전도 북한도 한 400대를 팔았다고 그때 말이 있었거든요. 네, 근데 지금 전차 모양이나 봤을 때 모든 걸 봤을 때 이제 속도 벌판에서의 전차 기동 능력을 보니까 야 그거 보면 진짜 걸프전하고 우크라이나전에서 이게 지금 전차 이걸 아마 보여만 줬어도 물론 자기들이 참모 일꾼들은 보겠지. 봐서 저거에 대한 대응을 할 것이라고 봐요. 걸프전에서 한 걸 가지고 북한이 업데이트를 많이 했다고 보고 이번에 우크라이나전에서도 많이 참고를 했을 거라고 난 그렇게 생각해요. 그런데 아직 미국 전차를 따라잡을 정도로 뭐 아무리 러시아나 그 북한이 그대로 복지하고 해도 그건 좀 아닌 것 같다. 황새 다리 찢어지는 느낌인데 참 볼수록 지상전에서는 정말 앰뷸런스 아직 독일 전차는 못 봤는데 앰뷸런스 진짜 왕이야. 이제 속도나 뭐 타격 능력 보니까 감당이 안 될 것 같아요.
From his position at the top of this small berm, McMaster could see no fewer than 39 more Iraqi tanks, accompanied by 54 armored vehicles and hundreds of infantrymen. As McMaster realized the scope of his situation, a call came over the radio from Lieutenant John Gifford. I know you don't want to hear this right now, but you're at the limit of advance. You're at the 70 Easting. He called back over the radio. Tell them we can't stop. Tell them we're in contact and we have to continue this attack. Tell them I'm sorry. By the time Eagle Troop reached the beginning of the enemy lines, they'd already wiped out 15 more T-72s. The ZSU-23 anti-aircraft system opened fire with all 4 of its 23mm cannons, but it was quickly neutralized by one of the Bradleys firing a tow missile. Despite the American armor's superior infrared optics, the Iraqi forces were still managing to land hits, but even when the 125mm smoothbore main guns of the T-72 landed direct hits on the Chobham composite armor at the front of the Abrams, the rounds just bounced off. As Eagle Troop pressed further into the Iraqi lines, they spotted the formation of T-72s held in reserve. Their close proximity to one another made targeting that much easier. And Eagle Troop destroyed the entire formation in just a matter of seconds. Within 23 minutes, Eagle Troop had pressed all the way to 73 Easting and utterly devastated the numerically superior and fortified Iraqi positions. In all, Eagle Troop laid waste to some 47 tanks, 34 armored vehicles, countless additional trucks, and fortified infantry positions. And they've done it all without losing a single vehicle or weapon system themselves.
Jeez. Fascinating. Okay, so my first question is this something that you actually study about in armor school, or is it just something everybody knows about?
Both. So, I mean, everybody knows about it, for sure. I don't think it's something that we study that much in detail, but it's used as like the best example of the capabilities of the Abrams tank, right? And so they mentioned in the video that, oh yeah, these T-72s, they shot rounds at the M1 Abrams, but it's coming head on and they just bounce right off. And so like I mentioned earlier that the armor is so strong in the front, right? And I mean, this is exactly what we're taught. Like, make sure you're facing the enemy because the armor is strongest there. If you're going to survive a direct hit from one of these enemy tanks, like a T-72, your best chance is to have your front facing it. And so, I mean, this is just like the best example of that. And so, more so than like, oh yes, we're going to teach all of the strategy and maneuvering and all the tactics and everything. More so than that, it's just the best example of using the capabilities at your disposal in the correct way, yeah, with the Abrams, but also with the Bradleys too. And so, I mean, you had mentioned like the tanks in the front, right? Earlier in that video, they mentioned that the Bradleys were in the front because Bradleys are scouting vehicles. So they sit taller and like their field of vision is so much taller, and so they can see farther and all this other stuff. But once you're engaged, once you come into contact, the Bradleys don't have nearly as much armor as a tank does. And so suddenly it's like, okay, well, now we have these vulnerable vehicles out in the front. And so you want to send the tanks forward with more armor. But I mean, of course, the Bradleys, I mean, they're not defenseless. They've got those tow missiles and they've got their own 25mm cannon and everything. So, I mean, they can put up a fight, but they're just not as strong as a tank.
Gotcha. Yeah, so one of the most incredible parts of this is not just that the Americans won, but how quick it happened in 23 minutes. Yeah, what was the decisive factor there?
I mean, I think a lot of it would be maneuvering and placement. And so I don't know all of the like exact like distances that everybody was from one another. Some of the shots of those tanks moving, and of course they're not going to be in contact specifically with some of the formations they were doing. But I was thinking as I was watching like multiple tanks in the same shot, I'm like, oh, those tanks are way too close together. Like they would never be moving so closely together because of the danger that would come with, okay, well, if there's indirect fire or something, you're going to hit more than one vehicle with one shot, right? And so I think on the other side, I think one of the reasons it was able to be over so soon is because I think maybe, I mean, I could be wrong, I haven't looked into like all the details of this, but those Iraqi tanks and personnel carriers, BMPs and everything, probably so clustered together that, you know, one tank, it's like lays, fire, all right, get another round, and then you just move slightly, and you've already got another one lined up in your field of vision. Right, you're not really having to scan to find because they're just all out there.
Because they can reload in less than 10 seconds, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to be. I think the qualifying time for reloading is supposed to be like 7 seconds. I think.
Yeah. So within reason, you could, if they're so close to it, you could take out 2 tanks in 10 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and in 30 seconds, I mean, you could take down like 4 tanks, four vehicles in 30 seconds, and so yeah.
Incredible. Today we watched this battle that was incredibly surprising. What is your, like, watching this one-line thought on how it was, and then we'll wrap it up. Your takeaway, I guess, from this, yeah.
I mean, yeah, like you mentioned before, this is just sort of like the textbook example that people use, or that the military will use to talk about like great tank. I mean, they even mentioned that this is one of like the great tank battles of the 20th century, and I think it will continue to be that, because these days now, as it becomes more tech and drones and air and everything else, we don't see as many like tank battles anymore. And so this might be like the last great tank battle that we really have to sort of look at and analyze and see what went right, what maybe could have gone better, etc.
뭐 탱크병이 살거나 자기 뭐 탱크병으로서 뭐 전차를 잡거나 뭐 이렇게 하려면 방공 능력을 많이 해서 뭐 저기 뭐 항공 타격에서부터 지켜야 되겠고, 또한 능동 방어 자체 방어 기술을 지금 상태 뭐 아무리 잘한다고 해도 많이 업그레이드 해야 되겠고, 뭐 그런 것 같고요. 안에 훈련을 뭐 전투 기술 기재나 뭐 포탄이나 기관총이나 뭐 그건 뭐 지들이 뭐 지금 수준에서도 괜찮다고 하긴 하는데, 실전에 나가서는 뭐 별로 그게 앞이 안 보여요. 그래서 살자면은 많이 업그레이드하고 훈련을 많이 해야 되겠다. 그런 생각밖에 드는 게 없어요. 살자면.
Well, thank you for your time today, guys. It was really insightful for me, and I learned a lot. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, no, thank you.
감사합니다.
땡큐 감사합니다.
감사합니다.
네, 감사합니다.
Okay, good.